Good morning, Internet fans. It's Ryan Perry with Simple Biz Support. It's hard to believe we're already in February, but this is the first show. Today is February the 5th, 2015. And as usual, I have the lovely and talented Virginie Dorn with Business Website Center on the other end. Good morning, Virginie.
Good morning, Mr. Perry. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. We're expecting some big rain, so I brought the big jacket today just in case it hits. But in Northern California, we can definitely use it.
Absolutely. We need the rain here.
We definitely need the rain. More important than rain, though, is a continuation of our conversation from last week talking about search engine optimization. And we were talking about things that you should not do because the last thing you want to do is invest a lot of time, money, and energy into building your website, building ranking, gaining visibility on Google, getting on the first page of SERP, only to find out that maybe you weren't using the most credible tools, practices that weren't really validated by Google, we'll say, and therefore you rose to fame very quickly, but then Google said, you know what, really don't like what you're doing, therefore we're going to drop you. Or in worst case, you can actually be delisted. And I don't know if many business owners out there know that you can actually be delisted from Google and your website literally doesn't exist anymore.
It's very true. So it's not just not gaining ranking, it's that delisting you just mentioned and being penalized by using bad SEO techniques. So,
Right. So today we're going to talk about some SEO techniques. These are not, a lot of this stuff hopefully today should be pretty common sense. However, it's amazing how many websites, and I'm sure you run into the same thing. You review a website. We talked about keyword stuffing last week, and it's amazing how many websites have keyword stuffing still. So who knows what other kind of bad baggage is there from 5 years ago when a lot of these practices were prevalent. So we're going to go through five more steps, or five more items, I should say, that you do not want to be doing as far as SEO is concerned. So what is the first one that you'd like to talk about today?
well, do not target the most popular keyword in the world. Um, Truly, though it's quite tempting, you want to be ranked #1 for the most popular keywords and renders hundreds of thousands of visitors a month. The truth of the matter is, unless you have a very huge budget for SEO and a very long-term plan, it's not going to happen for you. Unless, again, you're Amazon or eBay, and even then, sometimes don't target the most popular keywords. So you're better off looking at maybe a secondary, third, or even much down below the list to keywords that are still popular, but not as popular as the #1. So again, don't shoot for the stars. You'll never get there. You're better off being #1 for the third most popular keyword than number 100 for the #1.
Right, and I think a lot of business owners, we go, okay, I'm going to use, because I like to deal with local business, so we're talking like a plumber in Los Angeles as an example. That's probably going to be the most searched keyword. We do a little keyword search and we see that plumber has 100,000 searches a month just in the Los Angeles area. I'm, as a business owner, hey, I want a piece of that pie. The problem is that we have limited real estate on the search engine result page, and typically the top three are going to get a majority of the business. Well, those guys are paying a lot of money. They probably were in it for a long time. So you're saying instead of maybe not putting your money there where it's going to be very difficult to rank, maybe look for an alternative keyword such as plumber in Los Angeles, or how to unplug a toilet or something like that.
Absolutely. You will get better results and your money will go much further.
Right. So, and the way it was explained to me years ago was you can play in the big pool with the big kids with big deep pockets, or you can go over to the other pool that's less crowded, smaller kids, not as deep pockets, and be much more successful targeting multiple keywords than just that one big keyword. The other issue is, depending on your industry, and I'm going to use the word car as an example. Car is it probably has over million, it has multiple millions, I would imagine, search results each month. The problem is it's a very generic term. So when you're looking at doing keyword research, it's not just about the volume, how much traffic you can get out of that keyword, but it should also be targeted to the type of clientele that you want to attract. Cars, very generic. More than likely, they're just tire kickers versus somebody that's looking for a Honda Civic R 2015. That's a very specific search result, which means their interest in buying is probably much higher.
Very true. So the quality of the visitors is as important as volume. So yes.
Right. Okay, perfect. And if you have deep pockets, definitely go after it. However, for the most small business owners, that's not the case. The only caveat I will put on that is that if you're in a smaller town and you do some keyword research, find out who your competitors are, do a competitive analysis, and a lot of times in your smaller cities, not your Los Angeles, not New York, but smaller cities, Santa Rosa, Petaluma, Catatis, a lot of times you will find that getting ranked for certain keywords, that #1 keyword, is possible, but again, you're playing in a smaller pool because the city itself is much smaller than, say, a Los Angeles or New York.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So let's not beat that to death because we have limited time. I know the other thing you wanted to talk about is going to be reciprocal links, which is different than link farming, which we talked about last week. So what exactly is a reciprocal link, and why is it a no-no?
Well, it's like a link exchange, and a lot of people do it with their vendors, their friends and families, their colleagues, their networking partners, and they say, well, I'll link to you if you link to me. Truthfully, this has no value for SEO because it's kind of mute itself, I link to you, you link to me. But if you do that in a high number, actually also can penalize you. So unless it's something or someone you really want to push and is very important to the nature of your business, so yes, you could do a link exchange with that person, but you really have to consider the value of every link exchange. If there is no immediate value for your business and your business goals, don't do it.
Right, and I think here's I'm going to be the devil's advocate, and that is, but I was told that backlinks are fabulous. I need as many backlinks as possible. So if I can get all my friends to link to me, and then I reciprocate that link, isn't that a backlink?
Well, it's like a plus and minus system. A plus would be a link to you, a plus would be you link to me, a minus would be a link to you. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Okay, so that has a no effect. So you do that 100 times, around and out, or 100 times in, again, it has no value. You want people to link to you. I mean, if you could have 1,000 people link to you and you don't link back, yes, that's the way to do proper backlinking program.
Right. So the key thing is that you're basically saying if we reciprocate links, we end up basically canceling each other out. Instead, for me, a true backlink is a link that comes from another website that's unaffiliated with my own, and I don't link to them at all.
That is correct.
And that, for me, that's why social media is so important. It's a great way if you can get your content out in the hands of other people who share it and link back to your blog. That is a great way of creating quality backlinks that will be rewarded by Google. But going out and asking your buddies and friends to reciprocate links ain't going to happen. And the only other thing I'm going to throw in there is that if you belong to, maybe you're an attorney and you belong to a bar, or you want to say, hey, I've got a license such as a general contractor, you can go check out my license at blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and do that, but put it on a page that doesn't have any value. Don't necessarily put it on the home page. Put it on a page that's the About Us page. And when I say it doesn't have value, I'm talking about from an SEO point of view. Most people aren't really concerned from an SEO point of view about your About page. So maybe that's where you can do some backlinks if you want. And I've also seen other people do a single page, and these are affiliate, these are people that we associate with, that we trust and respect, and they put all those links on one page so that single page in the website gets devalued, but not their homepage, as an example.
Yes, so that tied in very well with the third no-no, which is don't link ad too much out of your website. The last thing you want is Google or a visitor go to your homepage and see 25 links going elsewhere, which has nothing to do with you. So it's different from reciprocal linking. It's you linking at, again, outside of your site. Don't do it too often. Of course, there are times, just as you mentioned, that it's important. Maybe you have a resource page on which you do want to link out to maybe a government agency, a local organization. When you do it, again, just as you mentioned, don't do it on the homepage, do it on a sub-page, and also do it what we call a target blank. And what it means is when people click on that link, let's say it goes to a government agency, like the Board of Accreditation, it opens a second tab. So you're not completely losing your visitor. It just opens another tab for them, and your website is still open on their desktop.
Right, because ultimately Google's evaluating your website as a whole, and it's seeing if people come into your website, how likely are they to stay in your website. So if you think of your website as a strainer, and every outbound link, a link that goes outside of your website, is a hole in this strainer, and you're pouring water into it, which are your incoming visitors, the more that they can weep out and they leave your website, the less value your website essentially has. So by minimizing those out links, basically you're patching holes, and instead you want to link internally. You want to keep people in your website as much as possible. Now when you pour water into that strainer, because you've plugged all the holes by minimizing those backlinks, you're holding that water in there longer. There's always going to be some holes, but you want to minimize and you want to be smart about where they're at and how many you have.
A very good way to explain it, but yes, that's exactly that. So the fourth no-no, or one not to do this week for SEO, is having thin content on each page, and we mean just very little content. Now, Ryan and I agree then it's better to have 4 pages of 2 paragraphs each than having 1 mega page with 8 paragraphs or 16 or something super long. But some people have taken this to the extreme, and what they end up with 24 pages of 1 paragraph, or sometimes 1 sentence per page. That is thin content. It's not good. It provides no value for your visitors, and the search engines won't take notice of that.
Right, and ultimately, you know, I always tell people that SEO is not an absolute. There's got to be a balance between what is good SEO and what good quality content for the end reader is. There's no point in bringing people to your website if they're just going to leave because it's all junk. So quality, take the long road. It's going to take a little bit of time, but quality is definitely going to be the way to go. And we're running out of time, so let's cover number 5 real quick.
Okay, so don't focus only on Google. We love Google. Google, they have a #1 search engine in the world. Once you've mastered Google and you have good ranking that pleases your business, then start thinking of Bing and other search engines and cater to them, because they all have their own expectation and requirements.
Right. All right. Perfect. So the 5 was don't target the #1 keyword. Number 2, reciprocal links. No, it's not going to add any real value to your website or your SEO. Linking out too much, having too many links going out of your website, you're just putting holes in your website, and you're going to lose people by doing that. Thin content, we should all know that from the Panda update a couple of years ago. Thin content will not get you anywhere. And then don't just focus on Google. There's many other search engines out there, including YouTube, which is the 2nd largest search engine in the world. So from my video side, I just had to put that in there. Virginie, our time is up, unfortunately. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and I greatly appreciate the time and energy that you put into these weekly episodes.
Well, thank you, and you're very welcome. Bye, guys.
All right, take care. We'll see you next week, and bye.